I couldn't watch Two and a Half Men reruns for years because I just couldn't enjoy it.
The stars of one of TV's biggest sitcoms lived through stories more dramatic than any episode they ever filmed. Behind all the laughs and million-dollar paychecks of Two and a Half Men, there were hidden battles, shocking secrets, and life-changing moments that would leave you speechless. Some cast members fought deadly diseases in silence. Others walked away from fame at the peak of their success. And one star's personal breakdown became one of the most talked-about meltdowns in Hollywood history. Today, we're diving deep into what really happened to the cast of Two and a Half Men after the cameras stopped rolling. From the highest highs to the lowest lows, these stories will show you that real life is often stranger and more heartbreaking than fiction. So buckle up, because what you're about to discover might completely change how you see these beloved characters. Let's start with the man who was once the king of television comedy. Charlie Sheen didn't just play a carefree bachelor on Two and a Half Men, he was living that lifestyle in real life too. For 8 seasons, from 2003 to 2011, Charlie brought his character Charlie Harper to life with such natural ease that it felt like he wasn't even acting. And why would it? The role was practically written for him. By 2010, Charlie had reached the absolute peak of television success. He was earning an incredible $1.8 million for every single episode he appeared in, making him the highest-paid actor on TV at that time. The show was a goldmine for CBS, bringing in over $3 million in revenue every time an episode aired. Charlie seemed untouchable, like he could do no wrong. But success has a way of hiding the cracks that are forming underneath, and Charlie's world was about to come crashing down in the most public way possible. In early 2011, he entered rehab for the 3rd time in just 12 months. The warning signs had been there for anyone paying attention, but what came next shocked even Hollywood insiders who thought they'd seen everything. When CBS decided to pause filming to give Charlie time to get his life together, something unexpected happened. Instead of using this time to recover quietly, Charlie went on the attack. He started giving interviews where he called the show's creator Chuck Lorre terrible names and made comments that crossed every line imaginable. His behavior became so erratic that people didn't know if they should be worried or amazed. Charlie began claiming he had tiger blood flowing through his veins and that he possessed Adonis DNA. He called himself a warlock and insisted he was winning, while the rest of the world watched in complete confusion. These weren't just quirky celebrity comments. This was a man spiraling out of control on live television, and everyone could see it happening. On March 7, 2011, CBS had seen enough. They fired Charlie Sheen, and just like that, his $30 million annual salary disappeared overnight. But the problems in Charlie's life went much deeper than just losing a job, no matter how well-paying it was. The darkness had been building for years. On Christmas Day in 2009, Charlie was arrested after threatening his wife, Brooke Mueller, with a knife during a domestic dispute. He later pleaded guilty to the charges, but the damage to his family was already done. In 2013, both Charlie and Brooke lost custody of their twin sons, Bob and Max, though the boys eventually ended up living with Charlie full-time. Then came the revelation that changed everything. On November 17, 2015, Charlie appeared on a national television show and shared a secret he had been carrying for 4 long years. He announced to the world that he was HIV positive and had been living with the diagnosis since 2011. Even more shocking, he revealed that he had paid around $10 million over those 4 years to keep people quiet about his condition. Charlie's announcement had an immediate and unexpected impact across America. Doctors noticed that HIV testing suddenly increased by 95% nationwide. Medical professionals started calling this surge the Charlie Sheen effect, showing how one person's courage to speak the truth could inspire others to take care of their health. After being fired from Two and a Half Men, Charlie tried to bounce back with a new show called Anger Management. The series ran for exactly 100 episodes, but it never came close to recapturing the magic or success of his previous hit. His career, which had once seemed unstoppable, never fully recovered. By 2020, the financial reality of his changed circumstances became clear when Charlie sold his massive Beverly Hills mansion for $6.6 million. Today, he lives in a rented house in Malibu, a far cry from the lavish lifestyle he once enjoyed. He occasionally appears in documentaries or makes brief cameos in other projects, but the bright spotlight of fame that once followed him everywhere has dimmed considerably. Charlie's journey from the top of Hollywood to where he is now serves as a powerful reminder of how quickly things can change and how personal demons can destroy even the most successful careers. Now let's talk about Jon Cryer, the man who many people in Hollywood once considered cursed. Before 2.5 Men came along, Jon had developed a reputation as someone who killed every show he touched. Network executives whispered he was bad luck, and many of them didn't want to take a chance on him when the role of Alan Harper became available. But sometimes the best opportunities come when people least expect them. In 2003, Jon landed the role of Alan Harper, the neurotic and financially struggling chiropractor who becomes his brother's unwanted houseguest. Not only did Jon prove all the doubters wrong, but he also accomplished something no other actor on the show could claim. He appeared in every single episode of the show's 12-season run. That's 262 episodes of consistent, reliable performance. Jon transformed Alan Harper from what could have been a forgettable side character into one of television's most memorable personalities. His portrayal of the desperate, often pathetic, but somehow lovable. Alan earned him recognition from his peers in the industry. He won Emmy Awards in both 2009 and 2012, first as a supporting actor and then as a lead actor for the same role, something very few performers ever achieve. At the height of the show's popularity, Jon was reportedly earning around $2 million every month. But while he was making audiences laugh and building his bank account, he was quietly fighting a battle that very few people knew about. When Jon was just 24 years old, doctors discovered something unusual on his chest. It was a small hairless spot that turned out to be an extremely rare form of skin cancer called dermatofibrosarcoma protuberans. This type of cancer affects only about 1,000 people in the entire United States each year. Jon tried to keep things light by joking that it was his shame cancer, because it appeared right in the spot where actors are taught to show emotional vulnerability. The first surgery seemed successful, and Jon thought he had put this health scare behind him. But when he was 35 years old, the cancer returned, and this time it was more aggressive and frightening. As a father now, the fear of what could happen felt much more real and urgent than it had when he was younger and single. The second surgery was more extensive and left Jon with a large T-shaped scar across his abdomen. If you watch 2.5 Men carefully, you can actually spot this scar in some episodes. Jon never tried to hide it or asked the show's makeup team to cover it up completely. It became part of who he was, both on screen and off. While Jon was dealing with his health challenges, his personal life was also going through a difficult period. His divorce from actress Sarah Trigger in 2004 turned into a long and bitter legal battle. Initially, Trigger was granted only 4% custody of their son, along with $8,000 per month in child support. But in 2011, she shocked everyone by asking the court to increase those payments to $88,000 per month. Her argument was that their son needed to maintain a lifestyle that would allow him to fit in with other kids at elite private schools. Since Jon was earning millions from the show, she felt it was only fair that their son should benefit from that success. The judge disagreed with her request and denied the increase, but the legal fights continued for years, creating stress and emotional strain for everyone involved. One of the strangest and most awkward moments in Jon's life happened when Ashton Kutcher joined 2.5 Men to replace Charlie Sheen. Back in the 1980s, Jon had dated actress Demi Moore while they were filming a movie called No Small Affair. Fast forward to 2011, and Jon found himself working alongside Ashton Kutcher, who was married to Demi Moore at the time. John later admitted that their first meeting was incredibly awkward. He joked about the situation, pointing out that Ashton had his trademark scruffy beard and was now married to a woman John had once dated when Ashton was just 7 years old. Despite the unusual circumstances, the two actors managed to develop a professional working relationship and helped keep the show successful during its final seasons. Let's move on to someone whose story is perhaps the most surprising of all. Angus T. Jones was just 10 years old when he landed the role of Jake Harper in 2003. For the next decade, he grew up in front of millions of viewers, playing the innocent and often clueless son, who provided much of the show's heart and humor. By 2010, when Angus was 17 years old, he had become richer than almost any other teenager in Hollywood. He was earning $300,000 for every episode and had signed a contract worth $7.8 million for just 2 seasons of work. He officially became the highest-paid child actor in television history, and his future in the entertainment industry seemed absolutely guaranteed. But in 2012, something completely unexpected happened that shocked the entire entertainment world. At 19 years old, Angus appeared in a YouTube video with a religious group and said something that left everyone speechless. He told people to stop watching 2.5 Men, calling the show filth, and saying he felt like a hypocrite for continuing to be part of it. His exact words were haunting. "I wasn't okay with it, but I was still doing it." This wasn't just a young actor having second thoughts about his career. This was someone having a complete crisis of conscience about the work that had made him famous and wealthy. The reaction was immediate and intense. The show's producers reduced his role significantly, and by 2014, Angus had walked away from acting completely. He later apologized to the cast and crew, saying he was grateful for the opportunities and still respected everyone he had worked with, but he made it clear he wasn't coming back. Instead of chasing more acting roles like most young stars would do, Angus made a choice that surprised everyone. He enrolled at the University of Colorado Boulder and focused on his education. In 2016, he joined a media production company called Tonite, working behind the scenes in an industry he had once been the face of. The company was co-founded by Justin Combs, the son of music mogul Sean "Diddy" Combs, and Angus eventually became the president of entertainment there. It seemed like he had found a new path that allowed him to stay connected to the entertainment world without being in the spotlight himself. Angus also made changes in his personal life that most people never heard about. On February 15, 2024, he quietly married Sarah Welker in a private ceremony in Hawaii. They had met while both were studying business at USC, where Sarah graduated with honors in 2019. The couple has kept their relationship and marriage very private, rarely appearing in public together or sharing details about their life on social media. Even though Angus left acting years ago, he's still financially benefiting from his time on 2.5 Men. As of 2025, he earns approximately $1.6 million every year just from reruns of the show. On top of that, he brings in around $2 million annually from his investments and his work in media production. He's financially secure for life and doesn't need to act ever again if he chooses not to. What many people don't realize is how much Angus gives back to others. He quietly supports several charities, including organizations that help abused children, cancer research at St. Jude's Hospital, and anti-bullying campaigns. He has even secretly paid for scholarships to help art students pursue their dreams without worrying about money. In 2023, fans were shocked when Angus made a surprise appearance alongside Charlie Sheen in a new show called How to Be a Bookie, which was created by Chuck Lorre, the same person who created 2.5 Men. It was the first time Angus had acted in nearly 10 years, and many people saw it as a full-circle moment that showed he had made peace with his past. Over the years, Angus's relationship with religion has also evolved. In 2016, after years of deep involvement with the Seventh-day Adventist Church, he announced that he was stepping away from organized religion. He explained that while he had been part of many faith-based groups over the years, he no longer felt aligned with their structured approach to spirituality. Today, Angus T. Jones lives quietly and stays far away from Hollywood gossip and drama. He doesn't attend red carpet events or chase after fame and attention. He made his choice, and it wasn't about money or celebrity status. It was about finding peace and living according to his own values. Now let's talk about the man who wasn't supposed to save a sinking ship, but ended up doing exactly that. When Charlie Sheen's erratic behavior got him fired from 2.5 Men in 2011, Ashton Kutcher stepped in to fill an impossible role. Nobody knew if the show could survive without its original star, but what happened next surprised everyone. The very first episode featuring Ashton aired on September 19, 2011, and nearly 29 million people tuned in to watch. That single episode became the highest-rated episode in the entire history of the show. CBS had taken an enormous risk by replacing their biggest star, but it paid off in ways no one could have predicted. More people started watching the show than had been watching before Charlie left. Average viewership jumped to 15 million people per episode, and younger audiences especially seemed to connect with Ashton's energy and charisma. He had not only saved the show from cancellation, but had actually made it more popular than it had been in years. Ashton suddenly found himself as the highest-paid actor on television, earning $750,000 per episode. Between June 2012 and June 2013 alone, he made $24 million from the show. 2.5 Men continued for 4 more successful seasons before ending in 2015, and everyone involved credited Ashton with keeping it alive and thriving. But while everything looked perfect from the outside, Ashton was dealing with serious personal challenges that most people never knew about. Back in 2001, long before he became famous, Ashton had planned to go on a date with a young woman named Ashley Ellerin. When he arrived at her apartment, she didn't answer the door, so he assumed she had changed her mind and left. Later, Ashton discovered the horrible truth. Ashley had been murdered that same night, likely around the same time he had been standing outside her door. The case remained unsolved for years, but in 2019, Ashton had to relive that traumatic experience when he testified in court against Ashley's killer, Michael Gargiulo. Taking the stand and facing the man who had committed such a terrible crime brought back all the pain, confusion, and guilt that Ashton had been carrying for nearly 2 decades. That same year brought another devastating blow when Ashton was diagnosed with vasculitis, a rare autoimmune disease that attacks the body's blood vessels. The condition caused him to lose his balance, affected his hearing, and even damaged parts of his vision. For a while, doctors weren't sure if he would ever fully recover, and Ashton wasn't sure if his acting career could continue. But Ashton is a fighter, and he refused to let the disease defeat him. In 2022, he proved his recovery by running the New York City Marathon. He didn't just finish the race for personal satisfaction. He used it as an opportunity to raise money for Thorn, the nonprofit organization he had started in 2009 to help fight child trafficking around the world. It should have been a triumphant comeback story, a tale of overcoming illness and adversity to achieve something incredible. But instead, 2023 brought a controversy that would overshadow all of his previous accomplishments and achievements. Danny Masterson, Ashton's former co-star from that 70s show, was convicted of rape and sentenced to 30 years to life in prison. After the conviction, a letter that Ashton had written to the judge asking for a lighter sentence for Masterson was made public. The contents of that letter sparked immediate outrage and backlash. People couldn't understand how Ashton, who had dedicated years of his life to fighting against child trafficking and abuse through his work with Thorn, could write a character reference for someone convicted of such serious crimes. The criticism was swift and intense, and Ashton found himself in an impossible position. The backlash was so severe that Ashton felt he had no choice but to resign from Thorn, the very organization he had helped build from the ground up. His voice and leadership in the fight against child exploitation were suddenly gone, and his reputation was severely damaged. Today, Ashton Kutcher's life looks very different from his days as the most watched star on television. He went from record-breaking episode ratings to courtroom testimonies and public controversy. His journey has been filled with incredible highs and devastating lows, showing how quickly things can change in Hollywood and in life. Some people still remember him as the actor who turned around a failing show and brought it back to success. Others find it difficult to look past the choices he made regarding his friend's criminal conviction. Ashton's story demonstrates how complex and complicated real life can be, especially when you're living it in the public eye. Holland Taylor brought sophistication and sharp wit to 2.5 Men, as Evelyn Harper, Charlie and Alan's manipulative but charming mother. From 2003 to 2015, she delivered some of the show's most memorable lines and created a character that audiences either loved or loved to hate. Between 2005 and 2010, she received 4 Emmy nominations for her performance, proving that even in a supporting role, her talent was impossible to ignore. But it wasn't her work on the sitcom that brought the biggest surprise of Holland's life. That came in November 2015 when she was 72 years old. During a quiet radio interview, Holland casually mentioned that she was in a relationship with a much younger woman. Then she added something that caught everyone off guard. "I haven't come out because I am out. I live out." People immediately started speculating about who this mystery woman could be. A few weeks later, the answer became public. It was Sarah Paulson, the acclaimed actress who was 40 years old at the time. The 32-year age gap between them created headlines and sparked conversations across social media and entertainment news outlets. But their relationship wasn't just notable because of the age difference. What made their love story special was how genuine and steady it appeared to be. While most celebrity couples share every detail of their lives online, Holland and Sarah kept their relationship quiet, deep, and meaningful. Even after nearly a decade together, they have chosen to maintain separate homes and have never discussed getting married. In a 2024 interview, Holland, now 81 years old, explained their approach to commitment. She said that marriage simply didn't feel important to either of them, and they were perfectly happy with the relationship they had built together. She also honestly admitted that she sometimes worries about their age difference, saying, "We have a big generational difference between us, which worries me for her sake." Despite all the attention on her personal life, Holland's career has continued to flourish. In 2020, she received her 8th Emmy nomination for her role in the Netflix series Hollywood. In 2024, she earned yet another nomination for her work on The Morning Show. At 82 years old, she's still working, still sharp, and still proving that age is just a number when you have real talent. Holland and Sarah's relationship has become one of Hollywood's most talked about love stories, not because of drama or controversy, but because of how honest and unusual it is. Together, they have challenged people's assumptions about what love should look like and have shown that genuine connection can transcend age, expectations, and social conventions. Conchata Ferrell was never supposed to become one of the most beloved parts of 2.5 Men, but that's exactly what happened. When she first appeared as Berta the housekeeper in the early episodes of 2003, she was only meant to make occasional appearances, but the way she delivered every line with perfect timing and razor-sharp wit made audiences fall in love with her immediately. By the time the show ended in 2015, Conchata had appeared in 212 episodes and had become so essential to the series that she was earning around $150,000 per episode. That added up to more than $3 million per season, something nobody could have predicted when she first walked onto the set as a minor supporting character. But Conchata's talent had been shining long before she ever played Berta. Born on March 28, 1943, in Charleston, West Virginia, she had already made waves in 1975 with the Norman Lear show called Hot L Baltimore. Some people in the industry thought she might become a major star right then, but it took nearly 30 years for the world to finally give her the recognition she truly deserved. Her co-stars on 2.5 Men absolutely adored her. Charlie Sheen and John Cryer called her chatty, with genuine affection, and she developed a particularly sweet bond with Angus T. Jones, the youngest member of the cast. Between takes, the two of them would spend hours talking about books, video games, and life in general. Off-screen, Conchata was nothing like her gruff, sarcastic character Berta. She was warm, funny, and incredibly kind to everyone she worked with. Even after 2.5 Men ended, she kept working steadily. She appeared in the horror comedy movie Krampus in 2015, had a role on Grace and Frankie in 2016, and appeared regularly on The Ranch in 2017. Her last major project was a cozy holiday movie called A Very Nutty Christmas in 2018. But while she was smiling on camera and continuing to work, something serious was happening to her health behind the scenes. In December 2019, while she was at her home in Charleston, Conchata started feeling weak and unwell. What initially seemed like a simple illness quickly turned into something terrifying. A kidney infection had spread through her bloodstream, and she was rushed to the intensive care unit. She spent weeks in the hospital before being moved to a care facility in January 2020. The illness had left her unable to walk, and she needed extensive physical therapy just to sit up properly. Slowly and determinedly, she began recovering and was able to return to Los Angeles in February. She even told friends that she was excited to get back to acting and was looking forward to new projects. But Conchata's recovery didn't last as long as everyone had hoped. In May 2020, she became ill again and had to be hospitalized once more. Just 2 days later, something terrible happened that changed everything. Her heart stopped for nearly 10 minutes. Doctors were able to bring her back, but the damage was severe, and things were never the same after that. She remained in intensive care for over 4 weeks, barely conscious most of the time, unable to speak, and unable to move on her own. Eventually, she was moved to a long-term care facility where she needed machines to help her breathe. Dialysis became a regular part of her daily routine. Her condition was described as semi-conscious, meaning she could possibly hear and understand things around her, but she couldn't respond or communicate. On October 12, 2020, Conchata Ferrell died in Sherman Oaks, California. She was 77 years old, and the cause was complications from the cardiac arrest she had suffered months earlier. In one of those painful coincidences that life sometimes brings, she died on the exact same date, October 12th, that her brother Luther had died 42 years earlier. The entertainment industry lost a true professional and a genuinely good person when Conchata passed away. Her colleagues remembered her not just as a talented actress, but as someone who brought joy and kindness to every project she worked on. Let's talk about Melanie Lynskey, who created one of television's most memorably disturbing characters as Rose, the stalker neighbor who became obsessed with Charlie. When she first appeared in 2003, her role was supposed to be a one-time guest appearance. She played this sweet-looking but deeply unsettling woman who lived next door and developed an unhealthy fixation on Charlie Harper. But Melanie's performance was so captivating and strange that the producers immediately knew they had something special. The way she delivered her lines with that soft, almost childlike voice, while saying completely inappropriate and scary things, made Rose both terrifying and somehow lovable at the same time. Audiences couldn't get enough of her, so the producers brought her back and eventually made her a regular part of the show. Behind the scenes, however, Melanie's experience was very different from what viewers saw on screen. Even when 2.5 Men became a massive hit in its first season, with ratings that were off the charts, Melanie was still being paid only the minimum amount allowed by the Screen Actors Guild. Meanwhile, her male co-stars were earning millions of dollars per episode. What made the situation even worse was that her contract essentially trapped her. She wasn't allowed to audition for other roles or take on different projects, even though she clearly had the talent and range to do much more than just play Rose. She was stuck in a situation where she was helping to make a hugely successful show, but wasn't being fairly compensated for her contributions. In 2007, Melanie made a decision that shocked everyone in the ENT, or entertainment industry. While most actors in her position would have fought to get more money, she went in the completely opposite direction. She actually asked to be paid less money in exchange for getting her freedom back and being able to pursue other opportunities. A studio executive even told her that she could become a millionaire if she stayed with the show and accepted the terms of her existing contract. But Melanie said no. For her, it wasn't about the money anymore. She wanted her life and her career back, and she was willing to sacrifice financial gain to achieve that independence. The negotiations took almost a full year to complete. The producers didn't want to let her go, because fans absolutely loved Rose and her bizarre interactions with the other characters. Even after they reached a new agreement, Melanie was still required to appear in at least one episode per season. It wasn't until the show completely ended in 2015 that she was finally and completely free from her contractual obligations. During these difficult professional years, Melanie's personal life was also falling apart. She divorced actor Jimmy Simpson in 2014 after 7 years of marriage. Around the same time, she was struggling with serious eating disorders and mental health issues. The stress of her career situation had taken a severe toll on her physical health, and her hair was actually falling out from the pressure she was under. Years later, Melanie admitted that during this period, she had been very unwell, both physically and emotionally. The combination of professional frustration and personal problems had pushed her to a breaking point that very few people knew about at the time. But after all the pain, all the waiting, and all the sacrifices she had made, Melanie's risk finally paid off in spectacular fashion. She found her voice again with powerful, critically acclaimed roles in series like Yellow Jackets and The Last of Us. For the first time in her career, she was being recognized and celebrated the way she had always deserved. 3 Emmy nominations proved that walking away from a steady paycheck and guaranteed income had not been a mistake. It was actually the beginning of something much better and more fulfilling than anything she could have achieved by staying trapped in her original situation. Before we wrap up this incredible journey through the lives of the 2.5 Men cast, let me tell you about some of the other talented people who made this show so memorable. Maren Hinkle played Judith, Alan's uptight ex-wife, with such perfect annoyance that viewers couldn't decide whether to love her or hate her. She was there from the very beginning in 2003 and continued appearing until the final episode in 2015, even though her screen time decreased in later seasons. In 2023, after 25 years of marriage, Maren made headlines when she filed for divorce from her husband Randa L. Sommer. They had been together since 1997 and had a teenage son named Ben. Their split surprised many people because they had always seemed like a stable, happy couple. The divorce was finalized in March 2024, and while they said they still cared for each other, their marriage was officially over. Despite the personal upheaval, Maren's career continued to thrive. In 2017, she joined The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and completely transformed herself into Rose Weissman, a complex character who required her to speak French and wear elaborate aging makeup for scenes filmed in Paris. Her performance earned her Emmy nominations in both 2019 and 2020. April Bowlby also deserves recognition for her role as Candy, Alan's sweet but not so bright young wife. She appeared on the show from 2005 to 2007, then made a few return appearances in 2012 and 2015. After leaving 2.5 Men, April surprised everyone by taking on serious dramatic roles, including playing Rita Farr in the superhero series Doom Patrol, which ran until 2023. In December 2020, April quietly married filmmaker Matthew Cook, but she kept this major life event completely secret for almost 2 years. When she finally shared a single black and white wedding photo in October 2022, she followed it up the very next day with another shocking revelation. She had given birth to a baby. Nobody even knew she had been pregnant. To this day, she still hasn't shared the baby's name or gender, maintaining a level of privacy That's almost unheard of in today's social media world. The stories of the 2.5 Men cast show us that fame and success don't protect anyone from life's biggest challenges. These actors experienced incredible highs and devastating lows, sometimes at the same time. They dealt with serious illnesses, family problems, career setbacks, and personal struggles, all while making millions of people laugh every week. Some of them, like Charlie Sheen, saw their careers and personal lives spiral out of control in very public ways. Others, like Angus T. Jones, made the difficult choice to walk away from fame and fortune to find peace and meaning in their lives. Jon Cryer battled a rare form of cancer while building one of television's most successful comedy careers. Ashton Kutcher saved a failing show, but later faced serious health problems and public controversy. The women of the cast also faced their own unique challenges. Melanie Lynskey fought for fair treatment and creative freedom, eventually sacrificing financial security to pursue the roles she truly wanted. Conchata Ferrell became beloved by audiences and colleagues alike, but tragically lost her life to complications from a severe illness. Holland Taylor found love later in life and continues to work and thrive well into her 80s. These stories remind us that the people we see on our television screens are real human beings with real problems, real dreams, and real struggles. They're not just the characters they play, and their lives are often more complicated and interesting than any script could ever capture. 2.5 Men may have ended in 2015, but the impact it had on these actors' lives continues to this day. Some are still earning money from reruns, others have moved on to completely different careers, and a few are still dealing with the consequences of choices they made during their time on the show. Their stories are proof that success, failure, love, loss, illness, recovery, and redemption can all happen to the same person, sometimes all at once. They show us that real life is always more dramatic, more surprising, and more complex than any television show could ever be. If you enjoyed learning about what really happened to the cast of 2.5 Men, make sure to hit that like button to help this video reach more people who might be curious about these incredible stories. Share it with your friends and family members who used to watch the show, because I guarantee they don't know even half of what you just learned. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into the real stories behind your favorite TV shows and movies. We're constantly researching and uncovering the truth about what happens to celebrities after the cameras stop rolling. And trust me, there are so many more shocking stories to tell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll explore even more secrets from Hollywood's biggest stars. Until then, remember that everyone has a story worth telling, even if it's not the one you expected to hear.